Hello and welcome to FDH Lounge Mini Episode 1804, the weekly FDH football preview show. I'm FDH Managing Partner Rick Morris here with our preview for the 2024-25 NFL Divisional Round. Just to review, we are 48-43-1 thus far this season with our college football picks, 2-0 in the national semifinals, and as noted in Mini Episode 1803, we are taking Ohio State in the national championship game. A win there makes us profitable, i.e. above 52.4% for the season. In the NFL, we're going for our fourth season since 2016 of being profitable, picking every game of the season. We came within a few picks of that last year. This year, we have been very close at times. Last week, we were 3-3, putting us at 138, 137, and 3 for the season. Our regular season Big Three picks were 35-19, with our locks at 13-5, our best year ever in both categories. In the opener on Saturday, Kansas City is laying 8.5 at home to Houston, who has never beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs. Last week, Houston looked like the team they were supposed to be in 2024 against the LA Chargers, albeit the offense still wasn't on par with what we expected in 2024. It was a weird game with Houston rising up, and it wasn't foreseeable in retrospect the way that the 06 Colts were when they clamped down the opposition in the postseason because they finally had a healthy Bob Sanders. The Texans got it done behind the strength of turnovers, and they were 7th in turnover differential this year. And their defensive front, which is formidable, looks pretty healthy right now. But this week they'll go up against a KC team that is essentially at full strength offensively, albeit they'll still be without Rashee Rice the rest of the way. There is one contrast that benefits Houston, as they are 6th in third down defense, and the Chiefs, surprisingly, are only 26th. If Joe Mixon can extend drives and keep the KC offense out of rhythm, then maybe, just maybe, but it won't be enough. Kansas City 24, Houston 13. On Saturday night, Detroit lays 9.5 at home to Washington, as they try to avenge the 1991 NFC Championship game. Of course, the week before that contest, the Lions blew out the Cowboys, a result that seems impossible when you look back at that era in the same way as 2002, when the botched Davis Browns hip-checked the defending champion Patriots out of the playoffs on a 9-7 tiebreaker. Washington faltered a bit down the stretch, as did the Detroit defense after the Aiden Hutchinson injury. The Don't Call Them the Redskins also struggled with the tougher teams that they played, while placing 31st in strength of schedule, which in and of itself would mark this as a historic upset/choke if they could go into Ford Field and take a W. The Lions are 26th in defensive yards per play, so if you squint just hard enough, you might be able to see Jaden Daniels and company prevailing in a shootout with the help of enough turnovers. It just won't play out that way. Detroit 34, Washington 24. Late Sunday afternoon brings the second clash of two old-school NFL franchises, this one between Philly, which lays 6 at home, and the Rams. Interestingly, these two teams, along with San Francisco, have each won 2 NFC championships since 2017, as Tampa is the only other franchise to break through in that time. But LA and Philadelphia have never met in the playoffs during that time, although each has beaten the Niners in the conference championship game in this run. Each team is 1-1 in Super Bowls during this span, and both have had a ton of roster turnover from their initial NFC championship on this timeline. The advanced statistics kind of hate the Rams, albeit they have tightened up defensively in the last month, and are finally healthy on offense, which they weren't for long stretches of the season. They have a significant advantage in strength of schedule, placing 4th, while the Eagles are 30th, and this factor has hurt Philly in the playoffs from time to time over the years. And the state of the lockdown Philadelphia defense without Nakobe Dean remains to be seen. Nevertheless, the Eagles are so stout on that side of the ball and so able to be balanced offensively at this stage of the season that they probably won't even need the advantage of a subarctic temperature against the squad from SoCal. The Rams will sneak in the back door, though. Philadelphia 24, Los Angeles 19. The marquee game of the weekend takes place Sunday night as the Bills receive 1.5 points from Baltimore in the game that brings down the curtain on the Joe Biden era of NFL football. It's beyond cliche at this point to talk about the MVP candidates, a quarterback with so much to prove in the postseason, but it's nonetheless true. Lamar Jackson, as a repeat MVP, has a tiny bit more on the line reputationally. The advanced statistics love Baltimore, but they do at the end of every season since 2019, and what do the Ravens have to show for it? It seems odd to regard Buffalo as playing with any degree of house money given their playoff failures, but this was supposed to be a year when they tried to retool on the fly, and they have overachieved that, albeit in part due to their crummy division. They are better against the run than the pass, which certainly helps against Baltimore, but they're not great against mobile quarterbacks, and you can do the math on how that comes into play here, as well as their ranking of 28 on third down defense. The Baltimore defense has tightened up a lot down the stretch, and it's easy to imagine this game being contested heavily in the trenches in what will be the worst winter conditions imaginable. Nonetheless, passing will still come into play, and a hobbled at best Zay Flowers figures to be the X factor here. Buffalo 24, Baltimore 20. Thank you for joining us for this mini episode of the FDH Lounge.